everybody. Welcome to the Hoops Rehab Show Football Edition. What's going on, EMAC? You're back.
What's up? I'm back. We're back. How's everything going, man? Missed the show. It's good to get back to it because we're long overdue.
Yeah, man. It's good, man. We missed you out here, but we know you had a good time.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
We're on the week 3. We got to get it cracking on that one. But
yeah, season's going fast as it always does. Can't believe it's already week 3.
That's for sure.
NFL. Already got some marquee matchups as we'll go over today.
Yeah. All right, everybody. As always, I am the Game Injury Doc, aka Dr. Evan Jeffries. On my right is Eric B. Mack. We are the host of the Hoops Rehab Show. This is the football edition. So we'll be recapping Sunday recap, and obviously the Sunday night game as well. You can find us at our YouTube channel. It's the Hoops Rehab Show. Please hit that subscribe button if you are on the live right now. And then we will be uploading the pod for you guys if you missed the live show. Wherever you get your pod, just download the Hoops Rehab Show. Please follow and rate and comment if you can. That way you don't miss a beat. And then as far as our individual handles, you can follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, all those good sites. You can follow us at the Game Injury Doc and Eric B. Mack. Also, if you guys are on the live on Twitter or YouTube, please comment. Let us know your questions. We'll try to get to them throughout the show. And if you have anything going on, what you felt about week 3 with your team, let us know. All right, Eric, are you ready to get it cracking?
Let's do it.
All right. I thought we would at least get into some of these crazy games that happened in week 3. What was the stat you were telling me earlier, Eric?
So for this week, there was 7 games that the final score was basically decided within the last 3 minutes of the game. And so that number is pretty significant because it matches like basically the most in 1 week of NFL action. So while you saw like definitely some crazy blowouts that were unexpected, there was also a ton of games that were super close and that were decided within the last 3 minutes. 2 being, from a blocked field goal, which was nuts. So it was definitely a historic and pretty crazy day of action.
Yeah, that's for sure. Let's get to the marquee matchup of 2-0 teams. I think this is the only 2-0 matchup for the whole week, and it was the Rams versus the Eagles, and this is a rematch of the NFC Championship game, which was decided at the last type of play, almost similar to today. So what turned this game around for the Eagles? Because I swear, I left to go to my daughter's basketball game today, and I thought the Rams had this game locked up.
Yeah, sorry, I was on mute there. Yeah, it was 26-7, I believe. So the Rams were up 19. Eagles got the ball to start the first half. They fumbled. Rams recovered at the 10, scored on the very next play, 26-7, as I said. Still a lot of ball game to go, obviously, it being just the very beginning of the third against the defending champs. But I was already thinking like, damn, Rams put up a great showing last year in the playoffs. They come here week 3 and, take them out. I still think there's a lot of promise there, and it still showed that they could play with them. But it obviously totally turned. Eagles kind of got away from just run. They started throwing the ball, which, hey, if you're down 19, you're going to do that. I think that was probably a pleasant thing for the Eagles to see that, hey, if they're down, they could depend on Jalen Hurts throwing the ball around, which I know that's something that has been questioned, even though they've had a lot of great seasons with Hurts, but that has been a question mark. And he showed today that he's got some firepower, obviously, with his tight end and receivers. And yeah, I mean, it was a mix of a little bit of choking with 2 blocked field goals, kind of a mess from the special teams unit from the Rams. with a mix of just great Eagles second half play.
Yeah, that's for sure. Because I know Jalen Hurts, I think he had around 40 yards in the first half or something around there. Then obviously finished the game with 226 and 3 TDs. Finally got AJ Brown going. Went over the century mark and had a TD. Got Devontae Smith going. So he finally got his playmakers the ball, which I'm sure if this week would have went where he passed for 100 and some yards and Brown didn't get anything, and then they lost this game to the Rams, you bet you would have heard something from AJ Brown about not getting the ball. So this is what the Eagles do. They can beat you both ways. They can beat you on the ground, obviously, and they can beat you through the air when they need to. And Jalen Hurts has always said that. He's like, if I need to pass, I'll pass. And so he kind of proved that today. Again, the Rams went to Philly and just couldn't get it done. I still think the Rams are up there with probably the second best team in the NFC. I know the Niners are 3-0 undefeated and all that stuff, but I still feel like talent level with their offense and defense is far superior to the Niners. The Niners just have a much easier schedule this year. What do you think?
Yeah, no, Rams are definitely gonna, as long as assuming health and everything, they should be right up there. Now, looking back when we're later in the year, maybe like a tie break situation for home field or something like that, that's where this game could be crucial. But just from a confidence standpoint, look, like you never want to give up that big of a lead, but it is the NFL. It is the defending champs. They had their chances, I think the biggest point of the game, so it was 26-21. Rams were at the 8-yard line to kick a field goal to go up 8. Missed the 9-yard line, missed a field goal. Eagles, big boy possession, 17 plays, 6 minutes, come back and take the lead. And so obviously that's what champions do. So the Rams, although they've become close twice, there's a chance they're going to have to go back to Philly. I know this is something that they probably would maybe want the game at home in the playoffs. That being said, that's way down the line. I think the Rams, Packers, Niners, Eagles, I feel like one of those 4 teams. You got to throw the Lions in there too. I think Lions will bounce back from week 1. One of those 5 teams, could be going to the Super Bowl, I would say.
Yeah, I think it's going to be pretty even. I still feel the Eagles are the veteran team. Obviously, they won the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
they're pretty damn good, but I think they're beatable this year. It's just going to be one of those teams that kind of get hot towards the end, probably. And I still feel like the Lions, like you said, they're going to be there, and they're probably going to prove that they're going to be a pretty good team to kind of get there. Obviously, a big-time matchup tomorrow with Baltimore, so we'll see where they kind of match up, where they stack up against them.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, the NFC is going to be kind of a battle throughout. I think there's going to be some really good games throughout this whole season, and you're going to see this back and forth between all these teams kind of going up and down the standings. But it should be interesting.
Oh, yeah. It's going to go back and forth. I feel like ever since it's been moved to 17 weeks, even though it's just 1 week, but it's caused like more clunkers. I'm sure as a Packer fan, you're probably like, damn, okay, at Cleveland, like got to get that dub. But, it just happens. You play a team that's just desperate for a win. They still got a damn good defense. They muck up the game. Gosh, Packers, I think they're up like 10-0 with like 3 minutes left or so. They scored, and it was like 3.
Packers gave up 13 points in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
How many points did Cleveland have? 13, right? So obviously the Packers defense was playing pretty well until the end. Offensively, I think they were playing very conservative today. And they thought they could get away with it. Cleveland's defense is probably elite, though. They're probably a top 5 defense, and they've kind of shown that throughout this game and earlier on the season a little bit. But they're always going to have a pretty tough defense to get to to get into teams. But offensively, Cleveland didn't do much to win the game, but they obviously did. So that doesn't show much for Green Bay kind of moving forward. I know it's one game, and that was kind of the trap game going to at Cleveland, and I think the Packers fell for the trap.
Yeah. I mean, probably were feeling pretty good about themselves. They had an extra couple of days from playing that Thursday game, and got a big matchup against at the Cowboys next week. So maybe slightly looking ahead to that. I mean, not in terms of, Cowboys are okay, but just obviously the return. I think that's a Sunday night game. But yeah, it's basically it's. I think week to week you're gonna get like just the experts and whatnot. Just if Rams would have won the game today, the Rams would have been like front page news everywhere. Oh, they're the Super Bowl favorites, right? Like they're the team to beat, and it just happens, right? Week to week, you don't want to get too caught up with it. But yeah, I think the NFC is super wide open.
Yes, definitely. And kind of going around the league, there was an ass whooping in Minnesota by the Vikings.
I was like, huh?
I wouldn't say I was surprised Minnesota won. I was just surprised how bad they beat Cincinnati. And when you look at
48-3 at one point.
When I started seeing the score kind of go up, and I saw Carson Wentz in there, I'm like, you know what? Is this going to be his job? Is JJ McCarthy going to have a job in 4 weeks from now? That was my question. Because I'm not saying that JJ McCarthy shouldn't be the quarterback for Minnesota. What I'm saying is, here we go again. A veteran quarterback comes in. He's under the tutelage of a great offensive coordinator, Kevin O'Connell.
Yeah.
Sean McVay. All these guys that are putting these guys through, Liam Cohen in Tampa, who got Baker Mayfield going. You got all these studs that are coming out. And obviously what Sam Darnold did last year, if you get this veteran quarterback in and you have a great defense, you can probably win some games. So I'm getting a little worried for JJ McCarthy when he got injured. How about you, Eric?
Yeah, I mean, these veteran quarterbacks, you get put in a situation where you're not asked to do a whole lot. The pressure is not on, right? You're not like, oh, you're the first or second or third pick in the draft. You got to show up right away, right? It's you, like you said, you're in a good situation with a great offensive mind. You're with a solid defense, right? I mean, for example, like Baker Mayfield, like he went through the Rams for a bit there, and Sean McVay, and he went to Tampa, and look what he's doing now. And it could be the latest person in quarterback to do so, which would be something, because obviously Wentz has been kind of going team to team as a backup the last several years. So we'll see if they keep winning. You know how that happens.
Yeah, and he's been backing up. Patrick Mahomes, he's with the Chiefs, he's under Andy Reid. So he's under all these great veteran coaches, offensive-minded coaches. So obviously they see a lot in him to be that backup. And I think he could probably run the show if he needed to for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
And then talking about those Chiefs, they finally went from 0-2 to 1-2. And, enough about the Giants, because they're 0-3. They should start thinking for the future. I think we already said this before, that likely they will be pretty bad early on, and we'll see Jackson Dart in about 4-5 starts. So I wouldn't be surprised if they're turning that job over to him pretty soon in the next near future.
Yeah, I think Russell Wilson last week, he was balling out, and they obviously ended up losing, but I think that kind of gave him maybe an extra couple weeks or so before Dart comes. And you had to figure Kansas City was going to get that one, although be it kind of another kind of ugly game. And that's really been their MO the last couple of years. I'm looking right now, they it wasn't a one possession game, but they've been playing. I mean, all of last year, we've talked about it. They were all these games that were super close. Granted, they won them, and that's all that really matters at the end of the day. But sometimes it happens where the next year, those bounces don't always fall your way. And I think that's what happened in week 1 and 2. But yeah, obviously them going 0-3 would have just been weird, and so picked up a much needed win. I don't think they really showed a whole lot. There's still a lot to be desired with that offense, but that's what they've decided. Like, we're gonna win with defense. We're gonna run the ball. We're gonna make sure it's a close game, and Mahomes is gonna have that drive or two that we need at the end to win it.
Yeah, that's for sure. Before we kind of get into injuries, any other games kind of catch your eye today?
I would say the only thing, because we talked about veteran quarterbacks, another example would be Mr. Indiana Jones, Danny Dimes, whatever you want to call him.
Yeah.
I know you were high on the Colts coming into this year.
Who,
and
me?
So that,
okay.
Yeah, you did. You know, they're 3-0, and looking pretty good too while they're at it. We'll see. They got the Rams coming up next week, I believe. So they got some stiffer competition, but I would say that's just in general another kind of surprise, another situation where there's not a lot of pressure like he had in New York, and look what he's doing.
Yeah, it's awesome to see some of these veteran quarterbacks just resurface. And I mean, we're getting into that class of just all these quarterbacks. Like, you got 5 guys out there right now? Daniel Jones, Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield. I mean, we could put Carson Wentz in there if he continues.
Carson Wentz.
Like
even Geno Smith.
Smith, yeah, he basically brought. I mean, nobody thought after Geno Smith tore his ACL, was terrible with the Jets, that he would be any good with like Seattle or anybody he went to at that point. So he's definitely up there. So that's like 5 guys that have just literally turned their careers around to the point where teams want to have them, and they're willing to probably pay him pretty top dollar right now. So it's pretty cool to see. Do you think the Colts are a contender?
I think they're a contender, definitely in their division with Jacksonville. Houston it's just all sorts of trouble going on there, which we kind of alluded to early on in one of our early shows.
Yeah.
I still gotta say, when it comes down to it, I'd still put them as a pretender right now. But I mean, they run the ball, they play great defense, and that is a recipe for success in the playoffs. But yeah, I think that I still have to see a little bit more to kind of to go down that path. But winning the division, making the playoffs, obviously, because you do that when you win your division. Hey, I think that's definitely possible.
Yeah, I think they'll be, they're going to win the division. I think that'll be pretty easily at this point. Now, do I think they can get past the likes of Buffalo or Baltimore or say even KC? I'm not sure. I have to see more with that. But going back to Houston, where is rookie CJ Stroud, and what happened to him? Can you please let me know where he is?
Yeah, we got to put out a rescue mission, put out something out there. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's weird. Yeah, he kind of had that sophomore slump, if you will, last year. They played good enough to win that division, which is not very good. Won a playoff game, so give them that. Yeah, I don't know. There's been some injuries on the outside and things like that, and obviously the running game, and I don't know. I hope we can kind of get back to that, because it showed that they were onto something drafting him number 2, but I don't know, man. They're not looking really good, and that offense is just looking really bad.
Yeah, for me, it's just offensively. They have no scheme. Obviously, they lost some people. Stephon Diggs is not there. Tank Dell's not there. So they've lost some people on the outside. They've lost, Joe Mixon's obviously not the running back right now. So they don't have a running game whatsoever. And so I think that's where they're going to struggle. Whereas you look at a team like Indianapolis, and you got Jonathan Taylor. Looks like he's still playing at Wisconsin, right? He's back to being a stud. You know, he had a couple injury hiccups here and there, but that dude is a bona fide stud right now. And the Colts also have all this talent. They got the tight end, they got players on the outside right now, and you got Daniel Jones diamonding it up. So it's just interesting to see where they're at, but likely they're 0-3. More than likely not going to make the playoffs. They are the last 0-3 team, though, to make the playoffs. And I just don't see that happening this year.
Yeah. It's just, they scored like 10, 9, and 19 points. You see like today he threw 25, he completed 25 passes, but an average of 5 yards. So it's like very like dink and dunky, just hoping to kind of work up the field, which we've talked about before, it's just impossible to be consistent with that. So yeah, hopefully with the running game improving and, I don't know. I don't see it. I think he still has a bright future, but there's something going on there, and I'll be interested to see if it fixes itself.
Yeah, that's for sure. All right, everybody. If you guys have any comments on this Sunday, your team or any other teams, let us know in the comments right below. I see Cam Miller said, what do you say? The Eagles said, "Get out of our house." Yes, they did. Fly, Eagles, fly. Even though I hate that song. But yeah, I'm sure they were singing that after the game.
Absolutely.
All right. So let's get into, there's some pretty notable injuries this Sunday and the past couple of weeks in general, which has kind of sucked. But one of the big ones, and it was just a tough injury to see, was James Conner. Now, James Conner has been a running back for Arizona for a while, obviously been at Pittsburgh, but just been that consistent player. And the injury I'll kind of show right now, if you feel you don't want to kind of look at it, it doesn't see, you don't get the full view as much with this video, but you can kind of see what happens to his leg right here.
As he was met at the line of scrimmage trying to find some room to make a run here, the right leg is planted. 2 Niners convert.
So essentially what happened is he got kind of sandwiched by a couple of defenders, and you see his right leg gets planted, and then the other defender kind of hits that below. That is when you know there's a serious injury, because they had to bring out the cart and immobilize his ankle. So likely he either fractured his tibia, fibula, in that order, or probably dislocated his ankle as well. So from the reports, they're saying he is out indefinitely and likely for the whole season. He's going to have surgery. They don't know the full extent of it, so they're going to have to do an MRI to see what kind of ligament damage does, if there's any other type of damage as well. So we'll probably get a better read on that tomorrow, but it did not look good, and more than likely he is out for the season, Eric.
Yeah, it was rough. It's just crazy that this one play could end your season just like that. And so he's been really good. He had a couple good seasons with Pittsburgh, went to the Cardinals. Maybe not talked about a ton, but just from for example, fantasy perspective, he's been pretty solid. It's just he's just a guy that you're like, oh no, I'm sure he's not going to do much this year. And all of a sudden you look and he's putting up numbers. And they lost a tough one against San Fran today, but they're a team that's looking to kind of be in the playoff picture, and not having a guy like that, it definitely hurts them, and hope for a speedy recovery. And we know how it is with kind of the veteran backs when they have an injury like this and when they're gone for a year. But we hope he comes back, better and stronger, if not end of this year, next year.
Yeah, it's tough. And, he's battled cancer and had to come back from that. So he's had a definitely tough string of things that I have to kind of battle back from and rehab from. But knowing him, he's likely going to hit that rehab button and try to get back. But as you know, from a fantasy perspective, obviously Trey Benson gets a big pick up there. I'm sure he's on some people's waiver wires, or he's on a lot of people's rosters. But he's just going to be a player that's going to get more of the rock now. He's going to have a little bit more load. He's the young guy, so he's probably going to take more of the load than James Conner might have when in terms of splitting carries and things like that. So he might be somebody that people should probably go after there.
Yep. Third round pick from last year. Was really good in college, and so yeah, there's definitely. If he's not on the waiver wire, obviously, might want to start thinking about starting him real soon because he'll probably, he'll at least get the opportunity to put up some numbers.
Yep, absolutely. All right, guys. So let's get into probably the most high-profile player that was injured today, and he is on my roster, so he got a big fat 0.
I got him in my league too.
Yeah, it's not his fault. It's one of those things that injuries are part of the game. But it was Ceedee Lamb. Ceedee Lamb injured his ankle, and I'll show the play right now just so you guys kind of get a better idea of what it looks like. But here is the play right here. And you could see his left ankle get trapped under there. And so likely, as you can see, it kind of gets turned in that direction. It gets into more of the eversion sprain. That is more of a high ankle sprain mechanism. So whenever the foot kind of turns in like that and there's pressure, that's what we call like eversion, kind of going into pronation. That usually causes more of a high ankle sprain. And when you think about high ankle sprains, that is the ligament that connects the tibia and the fibula. So that's that big, broad ligament in between. And so those are typically just more painful than the low ankle when you have to deal with just the ligaments down below that are much smaller. So high ankle sprains just typically have a longer timeline. And it also still depends on severity. So whether or not it's a grade 1, which is very mild, or a grade 2, which is like that partial tear. It was, he tried to come back in and he tried to give it a go, but he obviously just didn't have the power and kind of speed, and probably the pain threshold was there. I think they'll get a better read on it tomorrow and as the week goes on. But at first glance, it looks bad, but hopefully it'll be one of those where he gets an MRI and it's more of a mild form there.
Yeah, I mean, for us, including myself, that don't know a whole lot medically, I know when we see or hear about an ankle injury, when it's a high ankle, it's like, oh man, you just kind of know or assume it's like a little bit of a tougher injury, especially the position he plays, speed and him. He's got to have some burst. I know like a couple playoffs ago or a couple different times, like a Patrick Mahomes had a high ankle sprain. He just played through it, right? It's the playoffs. It's, different position. It's the quarterback position. And, but yeah, it's for us fantasy owners, I think he was picked, I'm sure, in the top 5 everywhere. And that just sucks when you do that, and you're just can probably, I would imagine you'll be out a couple weeks, but hopefully it's just that.
Yeah, and when you look at like position players, like a receiver or running back, they got to be able to cut all the time, right? So every step right off the line, they got to hit that 1-2 step and kind of go. And so if you just don't have that power, you have that pain that's in the ankle, it just makes that more difficult. So hopefully it's more on the mild side. I think there is a good sign that he tried to come back, number 1. Number 2, he kind of stayed on the sideline. He wasn't really going back to the locker room, coming out with like a boot or anything like that. So when you look at severity, that would indicate that it's more of a mild form there. But even with the mild, I would say there's at least that kind of 1 to 2 week period where likely misses maybe the next week, and possibly if it's just very mild can come back the next one. But let the kind of injury news kind of come out in the next couple of days, kind of get a better read on it, and we'll kind of update you then.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I figure it's one of those things that we'll find out a little bit more the next couple of days.
Yes, definitely. All right. So we had Mike Evans kind of leave the game today, and it's with a hamstring injury. No, they didn't really say the severity or anything like that just yet. But we know that Mike Evans dealt with a hamstring injury last year, which is concerning because, he is getting up in age there. So it's getting some of these soft tissue injuries are getting a little bit more difficult to kind of come back from. But that one last year, I think I remember it kept him out at least 4 games. So when we think about hamstring strains, again, it's by a grading system. So the grade 1 being very mild, that's usually like that 1 to 2 week time frame. A grade 2, which is a partial tear, would probably be in that 4 to 6 week time frame. And the biggest thing about hamstring injuries or any soft tissue nature is they're easily aggravated or re-aggravated, right? So it's not something that you could just say, all right, let's wrap up and just play next week and we'll be fine. It just doesn't go that way.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I think the advantage of it being, kind of a veteran, he knows his body. He'll kind of understand if he could be out there or not. It's funny, we didn't even mention Tampa when we were talking about the NFC teams, but that's another team that's like, hey, we got plans for later in the year to be pretty successful. So, we don't want to blow out his hamstring now. We got some. Obviously, hurts not having Chris Godwin there either, but they've been able to be 3-0 at this point, and so I would imagine he'll take it easy and he'll be out there when he knows the time is right.
Yeah, most definitely. And for Tampa, they've obviously been dealing with injuries, but I think they're going to get some good news with the Chris Godwin. I believe he has a good chance of playing this next week, or at least hopefully being there.
There you go.
So that'll be good. It's kind of a good and bad thing. You're getting Godwin, but you're losing Mike Evans. But you got the young rookie who is continuing to be a great player for them, Emeka. So I think once they kind of get all their players back eventually, that's an explosive offense. But right now they've had some injuries, and that's kind of make it difficult for them, even though they are 3-0.
Yes, sir.
All right, so tough injuries right there. But one player who is likely out for the season is Najee Harris. And unfortunately, when you first saw this play, you just automatically knew, just because the way he went down in a heap, grabbed his Achilles, and then when you saw the replay, which I'll show right now, this is where you see his left foot plant, and you can see the ripple of the calf go all the way up, and his left foot basically becomes lifeless. So he ruptured his Achilles, unfortunately, and will be out for the year. I know that he's been dealing, obviously, with the eye stuff from the fireworks incident. So he just has never. I hate to say with Achilles injuries, there's some predictor or anything like that, because you really don't know. But one thing we know is that he missed a lot of time with the eye injury and didn't really get the full training camp. He wasn't able to participate as much, wasn't able to get live action as much, and so it's one of those things where it sucks to see, and it's so unfortunate. But you wonder if that played any role into this type of injury.
Yeah, it sucks. It's literally the handoff. It's something he's probably done thousands of times.
Yeah,
at every level, and this Achilles thing has just been a phenomenon. I mean, it's been around forever, but it's happening quite a bit now, and he is as well like a veteran type back, and and so it's a tough blow for him, and I know it's one of these things where it's like we'll see how he comes from it, but was tough to see.
Yeah, just a tough blow overall. Obviously, this puts the Chargers down and back, and they'll probably have to sign somebody kind of off the streets, or I know they have some players on the practice squad and things like that. But this does put Amarian Hampton in the kind of limelight, and you can see he had a pretty big day today. So he's going to get a lot more opportunity there to be the featured back, and he is obviously a rookie and young, and probably more willing to kind of take over that role.
Oh yeah, after that I saw him make a couple plays. I'm like, oh, okay, no, yeah, he's that guy, So he's sometimes you take advantage of kind of what's given to you, and so
sure.
Again, from a fantasy perspective, hopefully you got him stashed there somewhere, because Chargers have been playing, another team that's playing pretty damn good ball offensively. And so, yeah, it's I expect them to have a pretty good rookie campaign.
That's for sure. Another 3-0 team. Yeah, there's some good teams out there right now.
Yep.
All right. And then the kind of last major kind of injury or player to talk about is Terry McLaurin. He left today's game with a quad injury. They did not specify kind of what the quad injury was. But typically, it's either, you pulled the muscle, strained the muscle or anything like that. Now, the game was out of hand a little bit, and he never came back. So that could have played a role in it as well. So I think over the next couple of days, we're just going to have to see the practice reports, kind of see where he's at with that. Hopefully he gets a clean MRI and there's no strain. But if there is, essentially it goes in the same type of time frame as those hamstring, groin type of strains. But I think from what I've heard over some of the reports is it was pretty minor. It's more precautionary that they had him out and the fact that they had a big lead. So hopefully over the next couple of days, you'll be able to hear some good reports on that.
Yeah, scary. Terry McLaurin, he's had a little bit of a slow start too. And so I'm sure he's eager to get out there and kind of have the same year he had last year. Because I think the Commanders are at their best when he's heavily involved. So hopefully he'll be out there super quick.
Yeah, and the Commanders are obviously dealing with a lot of injuries.
Yes,
Jane Daniels, Austin Eckler's, a bunch of their line was injured, some defensive players. So they are going through a tough time in this this
and
season
then Raiders
so far.
Raiders still went in there and laid an egg. Well, the Raiders, same old Raiders.
I thought Pete Carroll would be turning those guys around, but if I'm the Commanders though,
yeah,
I'm 2-1. We're still 2-1, and we're battling all these injuries, right? So I think that should give them some confidence. And then once they get back at Jane Daniels healthy, obviously Mariota was able to come in and be a veteran and do what Daniels would normally do. So that was positive. There's just tons of veteran quarterbacks that are just coming through, but the Raiders are the Raiders right now.
Oh yeah, definitely. But yeah, Washington, I think they could just hang in there, be around 500. Maybe they could kind of go on a little run like they did last year towards the end of the year.
Yes, that's for sure. All right, so that wraps up all the major injuries of week 3. And Eric, you know what time it is. It's fantasy time.
It is. It is fantasy time.
All right.
Had a lot had a good performances, bad performances out there.
Yep. So we got our fantasy studs and duds. And Eric, I need you to take me off with the first 3. Give me your first 3 fantasy studs of week 3 so far.
There's some good ones, but I guess I'm kind of going with I got to go straight off the top, Jonathan Taylor. This was a guy that was like a few years back, like, oh, he's got to be your first pick. He's had a couple of tough seasons. I know last year, towards the end of the year, he had a pretty good run, and it was kind of like we're just wondering if the Jonathan Taylor experience was over. And so he's had a crazy, start to the season. Today, he had 100 yards, 102 yards, 3 touchdowns. So he's definitely my top stud. I then got to go Jordan Mason. Jordan Mason has proven to be just an amazing complementary running back. When Christian McCaffrey went down last year, he put similar numbers to McCaffrey. And kind of the same thing with Aaron Jones being injured. He went in there and he had a really good game today for Minnesota in that blowout against Cincinnati. And I just had to throw this last guy in there because he was long overdue. We talked a little bit about him earlier. A.J. Brown. He got his first touchdown of the season. He cracked the 100-yard mark. He got 6 grabs. So hopefully this is something that he and the Eagles can build on going forward.
Yeah, those are some solid 3 fantasy studs there. But yeah, AJ Brown kind of hopefully turning some things around and being more that wide receiver 1 if he can on that team. All right, for me, I got 2 rookies in the leaderboard here in my top 2. I got who we just talked about, Amari and Hampton. He finished second in running backs for fantasy purposes. Averages 20. He got 24.9. So my biggest thing was he was involved heavily in the receiving game. So he had 6 receptions for 59 yards. Obviously had a TD with the 70 yards rushing. So just all around game right there. And obviously he's getting a big boost with Najee Harris out for the season. So that's going to be a rookie to kind of look out for the next couple of weeks and probably the rest of the season. My second guy is Mr. Scattaboo, who was actually my week 1 fantasy dud.
That's right.
I think we have turned a corner, and he is going to be the number 1 back in New York. Obviously, Tracy got injured today, but even if he wasn't injured, Scattaboo definitely had a week last week that he felt like he should be taking that position. The biggest thing for him, though, is he finished 3rd in fantasy running backs at 24.1, but he also, again, 6 receptions for 61 yards, another 60 on the ground with a TD. So they did really similar things, those 2 running backs, and I think that, if they can continue like that and kind of be there, they'll be probably the top 2 kind of rookie running backs, because I don't know what this guy in Las Vegas is doing. I won't mention any names just yet. So my third guy is Trey Tucker. I mean, not that he came out of nowhere, because he's had some games like this last season where he just had like a big game out of like 2 TDs for 100-something yards. But today he had 8 receptions for 145 yards and 3 TDs. He is the overall leader, I believe, in fantasy right now. Yep, at 40.9 for the week. And Jonathan Taylor behind him. So I don't think many people had Trey Tucker on their bingo card as the top fantasy player of the week, but he was.
Yeah, there's some good ones. Definitely some young players. Scattaboo, man, it's like as if he was at Arizona State, the way he was playing out there. I think the what surprises me is the receptions. I just think of him as like a ground and pound type of back. So that's good for those that have PPR as part of their league. And yeah, Trey Tucker, dang, didn't even realize that he put up those numbers. And so he's showing some flashes, as you said. And so pretty nice effort. Somebody to look out for.
Yeah, that's for sure. All right, so we can get into our fantasy duds here. Eric, you want me to kind of start off?
Yeah, here? Kick us off.
All right, so my number 1 is, he's obviously one of our best running backs in the league, but Saquon Barkley had a pretty pedestrian day. I know the Rams defense is probably one of the top defenses in the league as well, especially against the run, but 18 carries, 46 yards is really not getting it done. So he's definitely up there on my list of fantasy duds. But I don't see this obviously being like a problem. It's not somebody that I'm concerned about. It's just you're going up against a great team like that. Now, when I look at somebody who I am concerned about, I hope you're watching this. Brian Thomas Jr.
Ooh.
Okay, listen.
Yeah, that's some high hopes for him.
You had a lot of hope going in, especially on the fantasy circles, I would say, of being that top dog, the top receiver. You had such a good rookie year, but we've had back to back just pedestrian weeks. Like first week, I think he got 9.9 in fantasy for week 1 PPR league. Second week, 9.1. This week, 7.8. 2 reception or 7.7, 2 receptions for 55 yards. And he got that towards the end. Like he really had nothing going into it. I almost want to put the whole Jacksonville receiving corp, the whole receiving gang on there because Travis Hunter is not doing anything. They're just not getting everything involved as well as they should. But they are winning some football games, and they did win today, and they are 2-1. So it's one of those things where, yes, it might not look good, but they did win. All right, so he's on there, and for me, I am pretty concerned with him moving forward. I'm not completely sure if the risk is the main factor here, or is he just having one of those kind of the sophomore slump, really? And then my last guy is just because it's not like you have to have that same week every week, but hello. Malik Neighbors, 2 for 13.
Yeah. I mean, week 1 and week 3 has been brutal. You can't have your top guy having that.
I mean, listen, like Russell Wilson did not look good tonight, right? I get it, but to go from a week where you're just exploding out of everywhere and catching every ball, running past everybody, and then all of a sudden just have nothing. I know it's not all on you. But 2 for 13 is not ideal. So Malik Neighbors, you got my fantasy dud for the week.
Yeah, those are good ones. Those are guys that you really top notch guys too that you just expect a little bit more out of. You said Saquon Barkley. He's had some really good games against the Rams. He had like in the playoffs last year and in the regular season, he had 2 70 to 80 yard touchdown runs. So yeah, it's I mean, he's going to have a game like that every once in a while. But the other two you mentioned are definitely a concern because they're obviously are expected to do really good. They're both in their sophomore years. And yeah, it would just be frustrating having someone that can go off or just have 2 catches for whatever yards he had today. That's pretty frustrating, which kind of takes me exactly. I'm going to just go to my guy. Speaking of receiver, speaking of honestly, kind of a letdown his first two years. He was actually their first receiver picked in last year's draft. His dad was a real good receiver. Marvin Harrison Jr. got all the talent in the world, but I don't know, man. It's just something, and it's still very early. It's only week 3, and it's only his second season. He had a decent week 1, but the last 2 weeks have just been ugly. I mean, 2 or 3 targets. He dropped about a 30-40 yard, just wide open pass today. And it happens to the best of them. But for someone that pretty much has him in all of my damn teams, thinking that he was going to like kind of bounce back this year, it's been a little frustrating watching him out there.
Name another receiver on that team.
Yeah, I know. And I know you're going to say McBride, and he's a receiving tight end.
No. I'm just saying, I can't even name a player on that team. Yeah. So it's Marvin Harrison, you need to catch the damn ball.
Yeah, I have McBride and Harrison, and I'm like, if Arizona has the ball, I mean, literally every single pass should go to one of those 2 guys, right? And McBride's been doing his thing. Don't get me wrong, but he finally got a touchdown today. But yeah. Anyways, that's my number 1. My next, I'm going to go 2 different Raiders. And I know it probably is because of injury. So Brock Bowers, super tight end who had an amazing rookie year, had a good first game, if I'm not mistaken. Yep. But he's been pretty pedestrian the last 2 weeks. I know he had that injury. I know he's been out there playing. But when you draft him as high as most people probably did, you would want a little bit more productivity from that position. And then I hate to do this, but I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to stick on the Raiders, and I'm picking him because he was probably a low, first round, high second round pick everywhere in the drafts. And that is Ashton Genty. I'm looking at his stats, 17 carries, 623 yards. I mean, doesn't catch any balls. I mean, is he going to be one of those guys that if he doesn't get a touchdown, is it really not going to be productive for him? That's my worry right now. I mean, 17 carries, 63 yards. What is that average? 3.7 yards?
Mhm.
We'll see. We'll see. Very early, very, very early, but I know you, Doc, have some small concerns, and you might see him as a spitting image of another running back. But
Eric, how many receiving yards does he have in 3 weeks?
Oh man, I know he had exactly 0 today.
Let me rephrase this. Does he have more receptions than receiving yards?
Oh no.
He has 5 receptions for 3 yards.
Oh my god.
In today's NFL, if you can't catch the ball or even a even thought on the defense, like a threat, that's a problem. And to me, that just reminds me of another guy that just came out and he was just looked the part of a running back, but he had trouble with hitting the holes when he needed to hit the holes. Instead of all this little footwork that he needs to, spin moves and this and quick this, just hit the damn hole. And he had trouble in pass blocking. He had trouble receiving. And that was Trent Richardson. And I mean, he looked the part. He looked like everything you wanted out of a running back. But Genty is just like, I've seen some holes that he has to hit, and he just won't hit it. He's kind of dancing around, using too much footwork in the beginning. And then obviously he's just not a threat receiving. So when they know he's in the game whether they know he's going to run the ball. If he's in the game to run the ball, then he's not going to catch the ball, right? So it's just a little problem, I think, kind of moving forward.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I mean, well said. It's a big reason why these days, why running backs, like, for you to be a top pick, like, you better be just a flat out stud that just does everything. Like I said, still early, but you always worry when you pick a back that early. And you can be the kind of back that he is and be successful, but as a team, you need, you might need like a change of pace running back, like obviously like the Lions, right? You got, Jahmyr Gibbs, and then you have David Montgomery. That's kind of like more of that bruiser, right? And so you can have that, but Raiders don't have that. He is their first round pick, and they're expecting a lot out of him. And so I know that I would have kind of hesitated to pick him just because, I mean, if he fell in my lap, obviously I would have to, but I just was a little worried. But hopefully the young fella, it's the Raiders too, honestly, let's be honest, it's going to be a tough situation, but hopefully the young fella picks it up. And I think if they can get some touchdowns from him, I think that's where, he'll pay dividends. But yeah, so far, any threat of him coming out the backfield and catching the ball, it's basically a 0. And that could be part of why they're struggling right now.
Yeah, and I think from fantasy perspective is that he went in the first round in most drafts.
Yeah.
Right? So I just think what you're expecting versus reality, I think is setting in for most of the fantasy owners for him. And I think these were some of the concerns we kind of brought up a little bit, kind of going is when you trust so much in a rookie running back. And to be honest, a lot of these rookie running backs like RJ Harvey's not really doing much.
I know.
He's not doing much. Hampton wasn't doing much until kind of this week. So kind of moving forward. Same thing with Cam Scatterbo. So there are some things, maybe give them a couple weeks to kind of get some, some of these games under their belts. And then maybe the second half of the season will be much better.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, even like Bijan Robinson, for example, like obviously a great back. I mean, his rookie season, it was good, it was solid, but I mean, he didn't get 1,000 yards, had 4 touchdowns. You know what I mean? It wasn't this amazing season.
That's why it's hard for me to draft a rookie running back first round, just because you know that likely they're not going to light it up like you think they're going to light it up. Same thing with receivers for the most part too. Most rookie receivers aren't going to dominate.
Yeah. You have your exceptions to the rule and your special circumstances, but yeah, those two skill positions, more often than not, it's kind of that year 2 where you really start to see the talent in someone.
Definitely. All right, so that wraps up our fantasy studs and duds.
Sure.
Eric, you got anything else before we kind of get out of here tonight?
No, other than just looking forward to tomorrow night. It's always nice when there's a kind of a quote unquote big Monday night matchup. AFC, NFC, to the top contenders, if you will. So that'll be an exciting matchup for sure.
Yes, most definitely. All right, guys. So we are going to get out of here, but we will be back on this week. And also, we are going to be getting back to some basketball, obviously, because training camp is coming up at the end of this month. So be on the lookout for some of our, obviously, basketball content, because we are the Hoops Rehab show. So we'll get back to that, and then also still have our Sunday night show to cover football. But Eric, great show. Welcome back.
Yeah, man. Look forward to guys just kind of really getting into the routine. And so, yeah, with basketball come in and football, obviously, underway, it's going to be an exciting time to cover these two sports.
Most definitely. All right, guys. So we are out, and we will catch you guys soon. Peace out.
Peace.